What's up, and welcome back to Opposites Attract Podcast. This is Sonja Ramirez, your girl, and I'm sitting next to
Miguel Ramirez.
What's up, everybody? How was your day?
How was your week?
How was your life?
Going.
Woo! We are sitting here. I was going to say, well, on a Sunday afternoon.
Yeah.
After church. And it's beautiful outside. I want to go out there and lay.
Only because it's been raining.
It's overcast.
Yeah.
But it's humid as heck. Like, my hair is beyond, like, frizzy. I let this clip out, and I look crazy.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I'm going to go jump in the pool and, just lay out and enjoy this humidity, but overcast.
Yep. So we hope you guys enjoyed the last episode. That one was a lot of fun with Isaiah McPeak from Pinwheel. And, after that episode, I felt good. Like, like we're doing something good. Yes. You know what I mean? Like letting people know of something that's good that's out there. And we hope you guys enjoyed that one.
Yes, because there's so many parents that have that fear, regarding social media and how it's sucking in and it's like hypnotizing, right? Our kids. Yep. I mean, that's how I feel at times when I'm on social media. It's like you go on there to post or promote our podcast and all of a sudden you are sucked in.
Yep.
No,
like you go on with the purpose of doing something for work and 10 minutes go by and you're like, oh, I never even did that yet.
Right. Like if we didn't have a podcast or a business that we had to promote, I don't think I would be on social media
as much.
Yeah. Like I force myself to go on there and to do it because I get anxiety.
Yeah.
I truly do. I get anxiety just being on social media and I just rather not be. Yeah. Not only that, but we have a lot of family that live out of state. So Miguel's mom lives out of state. And
so that's a good way to keep in touch.
Yes.
But during the podcast, we were talking about Audrey having her party or her get-together, her birthday get-together, because we all had COVID, so she couldn't have anything. So we had a couple friends over.
Yes.
Yeah.
And during the party, I'm inside, just getting everything ready for them. And all of a sudden, and Adriana has this playlist, right? She has her own playlist. And all of a sudden, I hear Spanish music playing.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, like that is so cool. Because I remember being her age and I was embarrassed. I'm like, Mom, turn that down.
Yeah,
we're pulling up to school or Mom, turn that down.
Yep.
I didn't like listening to Spanish until I was, 21 or something like that.
And now she's playing it for her friends.
Yes. Yeah. So I'm like, ooh, I got to get this on Facebook. So I actually did a Facebook Live and I went out there and just kind of recorded everything. And they were just hanging out, having a good time, in the pool. And it did not matter the Spanish music.
No, they were
and
just jumping in.
It seemed like her friends were, enjoying it as well. So
maybe it's Despacito. Despacito kind of made.
Oh, it was not.
They put everybody on. Now everybody's into it.
I see what you're saying.
Everybody's into it.
Now everybody's okay with it. Now it's like a cool thing, not like, what are you listening to?
But so like you said, we had the little get together for her birthday, and we had you wanted to. So at first we were talking to Audrey about like what she wants to do for her birthday. Mm-hmm. So she had a couple options, and we ended up taking her shopping for a couple things for her birthday, right?
Yes.
And we were like, we had COVID during her birthday, like right in the middle of it. So she we couldn't celebrate, couldn't do anything.
I felt bad.
So we're like, well, why don't we just have a couple friends over? So you and a friend of yours start decorating.
Yes.
And you guys go, like really go for it. And we're having like monsoons right now. And like less than an hour into the party, like the wind picks up, stuff starts blowing around, and we had to like start bringing everything back inside.
I know. But we spent that time together.
Yeah.
My friend and I. And it's so funny because I see her and she really gets into it the way I used to get into it. It's been a while.
So the day of the party was the same day that we recorded that last episode.
Yes, it was haywire, Isaiah, you guys.
Yeah.
It was a mess. Stress, high stress. It was just crazy.
So in the morning, we're setting up for the party. Yes. Also setting up for a podcast.
Mm-hmm.
And then wrapping up the setup for the party after the podcast. And then the party starts.
Yes. Yes.
And then the monsoon starts. And then we have to take it all down.
yes.
But no,
not only that, we had all the little girls staying the night. Like there was supposed to be 3 or 5 girls staying the night.
Yeah.
You know, so it was very hectic.
Yeah.
Needless to say. But what's so cool is being there to witness our daughter and how she interacts with her friends and truly seeing her little personality come out and just being able to witness them, you know, hanging out together and what they talk about and how they respond to each other. And so Adriana actually only had one friend that was able to stay the night.
Yeah.
The following morning, I made a big breakfast.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Oh my God.
I mean, you're talking everything,
hash
right?
browns, pancakes,
all
bacon, eggs, all of it.
And so we're sitting there, and I just noticed like the mood was different between those two. Like something was going on.
Yeah.
Right. And so after breakfast, I decided the girls went up to the room after they cleaned the kitchen, which was great. And I just sat down and said, "Hey, what's up, girls? What's going on?" And so I started having just a fun conversation with them, getting them comfortable with me. We're laughing. We're talking about stuff. We're talking about boys. I'm sharing with them stories about myself and dumb things that I've done and stuff like that. So they're laughing and they're sharing stuff with me. And then we start talking about trust and honesty, right? You see how I'm going, where I'm going with this?
Yeah.
And I'm like, all right,
you're
girls.
manipulating the kids.
No, it's not a good thing. And so I start talking to them and I start asking questions. And then her little friend looks at Audrey and she's like, "I think this is a good time to tell your mom."
Oh, you're like, "What's up?"
And Audrey gives her the stare, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, are you really going to throw me under the bus like right now? You know, because I saw that there was something going on. And after breakfast, I realized that her friend went upstairs and asked Audrey to go upstairs with her.
Oh, okay.
Okay. And then when they came down, there was a change, like something had happened. So anyways, I come to find out that her little friend was encouraging Adriana to tell me something, and Adriana was having a fight within. Like she knew that she needs to tell me, but she didn't want to tell me right now, kind of deal.
Yeah.
And her friend was enforcing it, right? So anyways, I thought it was gonna be like this big deal, and it comes out that Adriana said a bad word.
She's been cussing a little bit.
Well, she said 2 bad words. There was 2.
Was it?
Yeah, it was 2 bad words, and it was months ago.
Yeah.
Months ago. And she said, after I got baptized, I stopped. Like, that's what she said. But it was only 2 cuss words, and it wasn't directly to anyone.
Yeah.
She was feeling a certain way. This one girl likes to pick on the girls at school, you know, and there was a situation that happened, and Adriana said she was acting like a
what?
A female dog.
Oh.
And so, I start talking to them about trust and just getting down like a deep conversation with them. And we started talking about, and us adults, I think about this and it's like, I've always been a very bad liar.
Yeah.
I've never been a good liar. So it's like, why even lie?
Yeah.
If you can tell, if I'm trying to lie to you and you can tell that I'm lying, then what is it worth?
It's like something's up.
And not only that, but it doesn't sit well. And we all know that. We've all done it. We've all lied, right? And it just does not sit well with your spirit, at least with me. Like, not only that, but shit, I can't remember what I ate this morning, more or less remembering all the lies that I've said.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Keeping up with them, that's just too much energy. I cannot do that. So I had this conversation with them and it's like, listen, if you tell the truth, and yes, sometimes the truth hurts. I said, but you know what? That's going to make you feel a whole lot better. And before I even got,
that's right.
And before I even got into that conversation, her little friend, who I absolutely love, looks at Audrey and says,
so
after Audrey tells me the truth, she asked Audrey, "How do you feel?" do you feel better?
Yeah.
Right? That you told your mom the truth? And Adriana's like, yeah. And I told Adriana, I'm like, listen, I know your friend gets on your nerves sometimes because she's always like, she's a
good friend.
Audrey told me she's a lot like you, Mom. She's a lot like you. She's a good friend and she's going to help her make good decisions.
Yeah.
And when she doesn't make good decisions, she's going to call her out on it. And of course that could be annoying, right? Yeah. It could be annoying, but it's like, it's a good thing. And that's why I told Audrey.
Yeah. There's little friend things. They're kids growing up and they still have to learn how to, deal with certain situations.
Yes.
That they get on each other's nerves about.
Yes. But it's like appreciate
it's
each
cute
other.
Seeing them. Yeah.
Yes. And I talked to them about communication. Our last podcast, the podcast before the last podcast, we talked about effective communication and how that can make a huge difference. Because even though you're communicating, it doesn't mean that you're communicating correctly, right? Like you have to make sure that you are coming from respect and from love, even when there is a disagreement. So I talked to them and I asked them questions. If this happened, how would you respond to your friend? And I asked the friend the same thing. I'm like, there's a right way to communicate and there's a wrong way to communicate. And I noticed that both of you were trying to communicate, but you guys weren't talking to each other in a manner where you could understand.
Yeah.
So I went through
understanding each other.
Right. So I went through and I told so we went through all that. Anyways, it was a good conversation and a great time for me to coach. And I like to coach. So that was great. Yeah. And not only that, but for them to be authentic to the people around them, but also to themselves. Because it's like, I told Audrey, I said, listen, I asked her, I'm like, are you the same person with me that you are with your friends?
Yeah.
And your dad and your teacher. Like, are you the same person or are you acting different with all of us? Because it's very, so many of us, we do that and we are unaware of it.
Yeah.
Until.
Well, we talked about that with the cursing too, though, because you have to in some situations. You know what I mean? Like we were talking about that with the cursing, and because for her to come to me and tell me that she's cursed a couple of times and I'm supposed to lose my mind about it,
right?
It's not gonna happen. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And I even told her, I was like, these are just these are words that people made up and people take offense to them, so that's why they're curse words. Mm-hmm. I was like, but just think about the word shit. When somebody says shit, it doesn't even make sense. It just doesn't. It's just history and stories, and it's offensive. Mm-hmm. But yeah, there's certain times when you can and can't. Mm-hmm. Obviously, if you listen to our last episode, that was a little bit different. And I know how to control myself, and I know who we're, it's just different. If I'm at work and I'm sitting in a meeting, I'm not dropping F-bombs and, going crazy.
Right.
It's just, that's mm-hmm. just, knowing where you're at.
And I told her, I said, you've heard me cuss. She's like, yeah, but you don't cuss a lot. And I said, yeah, but you've heard me cuss.
Yeah.
And I said, when your friend leaves, I think this is a great conversation for you to have with your daddy. She's like, no, and I'm like, no, I think that, you should get used to speaking with your dad, because, she used to have a problem with you big time.
She's got a problem with me?
Cussing and, just certain stuff like that. Yeah, but she has not said anything. I asked her.
She has chilled out more in this last year.
And I think it's because she's seen, that.
Well, that and she's changing. She's getting her newer, older personality. She's,
But, I just talked to her about being like walking in her truth.
Yeah.
You are who you are, and don't, I love who you are, and people are either going to love you or hate you or like you or dislike you, and that's life. I said, but you have to really just focus on being you around everybody. Don't pretend to be this person at church and then be this other person with your friends. But she doesn't surround herself with friends that she feels she has to
impress.
Thank you.
Yeah, all her friends seem like they just do their own
down
thing.
Yes.
And they're all like, yeah, this is me. Yeah. And they're not trying to impress really each other. They're just like all
or anybody else, and I love that about them. I love that about them.
Yeah.
So yeah, we had a lot of teaching moments.
There was something that came up before the get together for Audrey, and it was when you guys had left. You and your friend had left, and I was home. I was still working.
Mm-hmm.
I was still working, and I had the kids here with me, and you guys had left, and it was me and I don't know, a few of the kids. But I'm sitting at the table where I work, and they're sitting on the other side of the table. I don't know if they were eating something, but they were all hanging out on the other side of the table, like, I don't know, four or five kids.
Mm-hmm.
And they start talking about something. I'm paying attention to my work, and I hear them say something about OG. Like something was OG or whatever, and I'm like, hey, what do you guys know about OG? And they're like, what? It means like, and no, I think I asked them, I was like, what does it mean?
Uh-huh.
And they're like, when something's good or it's cool or something like that. And I'm like, is that what that means? They're like, yeah. I was like, what does OG stand for? I'm like, I don't know. I'm like, let me learn you little kids a little something. And then I told them, I was like, OG is original gangster. I was like, that's the older people that have more experience, more knowledge. Usually they're smarter. Uh-huh. So we would call them an OG.
Uh-huh.
I was like, the young ones would look up to the OGs. I was like, so if something was OG, it could be something that was like original, something old. It could be something good, something smart, because that is kind of what it means. But they were like, oh. I was like, yeah, that's what that means.
So
I'm teaching the kids lessons.
OG.
But yeah, that was fun. But we were also Joey and I went to the park across the street and talking about like having those moments with the kids. And we were playing across the street. We were throwing the baseball around. And it seems like our street, there's like a drain. Mm-hmm. And it's like perfect for when you're playing baseball or playing whatever the hell you're playing across the street. That ball, wherever you kick it or throw it or whatever, it's going to go straight towards that drain and you're going to lose your balls down there. And so Joey and I were practicing and I was kind of like throwing him the ball and I was telling him, I was like, make pretend that I'm on first base, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm going to throw you the ball. You got to try to catch it and then turn and throw it right back to me on first base so that you can get the guy out. And he's like, okay. So we're sitting there practicing and I throw him the ball and he's boom. And he's doing good. Like he was throwing me the ball hard. We got to work on the catching a little bit, but he was throwing really good. Yeah. And, but then he had one and I was telling him like, dude, you're doing really good. That's awesome. And then he had one that just kind of got away from him and it went over my head right into the street and right down the drain. And I chased after it and I tried to get it, but it was just like sometimes there's little things like a little tree or like a little bump or whatever that it'll hit and then I can catch it. But this one, it just kind of missed everything and just rolled right down the drain. And usually, Joey, his personality, he gets upset and he wants to, he gets mad. And he started to, and I told him, I was like, hey, Joe, I was like, you were doing really good. I was like, that's actually part of the game. I was like, part of the game is making the mistakes. They keep track of the mistakes that the players make. I was like, they call them errors. And I was like, when they play, I was like, imagine if you're running as fast as you can to go try to catch that ball. And then this field is so big. They're big, right? And he's like, yeah, they're big. I was like, you have to throw it perfectly to the guy that's on first base. And his foot has to stay there so he can tag the guy out. I was like, that's not easy to do. Not even for the professionals. I was like, that's why they have errors and they make mistakes. I was like, that's how you get a single or a double or a triple or whatever. And I was like, that's part of the game. I was like, sometimes they'll turn, they throw and the ball slips out of their hand and it just goes somewhere else. It's like it happens to everybody.
Did you play any sports at his age?
At Joey's at 9?
9 or 10?
I remember playing basketball.
Mm-hmm.
I sucked at it. I was really bad. I played football. I don't know how old I was when I first played football, but I was maybe around his age, maybe a little bit older.
Have you shared any challenges with
like my experience playing sports
with Joey?
No, I told him when I was 9, I used to dominate everybody. I told him I used to crush all the kids, like smashing their faces. No, I'm just kidding. No, I should talk. Actually, when I used to play, like I did get good at football.
Yes.
Like I mean, I won't lie.
Saying,
but when I first started, no, I know,
okay.
and I do need to talk to him about it. But when I first started playing football, I was horrible. I was garbage, you know. And actually, another thing that we talked about, who was here? It might have been. Actually, it was Audrey and her friend. We were sitting down here, and we were talking about. They were like play fighting or something like that, and her friend was saying something about like she was gonna do something and do this and do that, and it's one of like we've talked about here. It's like for some reason, that is one thing that everybody feels like they know how to do, you know. So I told her, I was like, hey, is there I was like, do you know how to ride a bike? And she's like, yeah. I was like, were you born knowing how to ride a bike? And she was like, no. I was like, so you had to learn how to ride a bike, right? I was like, so it's not like you got on you jumped on your first bike and took off. I was like, what would have happened if you tried to do that? She's like, I would have fell down. I was like, is there anything else in your life that you were ever just good at, just from the start? She was like, walking. And I was like, I don't think so. She's like, I think you learned how to walk. And she's like, oh, yeah. I was like, so if you get into a fight, how are you going to do? She's like, I'll do pretty good or something like that. And I'm like, why is that different than anything else? I was like, you know that there's people that learn how to fight? I was like, and Audrey is learning how to fight. I was like, she can actually teach you some things. And she's like, oh, and then, you know, she started helping her with some stuff, but it was cool. Like, and she they got it.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. So, Audrey and we started working out together and I love it. Like I love just spending that quality time with her.
Yeah.
You know, and so you
guys have been having fun.
Yes. And so I had her, you know, working out her abs. We worked out on our legs. And then the following day we were out in the gym, where they do the classes, the aerobic classes. And I saw, you know, a lady came in and we were about to leave. And I asked her, I'm like, are they having a class right now? She said, yes. She was like, I asked her what class. She said Zumba. I'm like, dude, that would be totally fun. Yeah. Because I used to enjoy Zumba because of the music, but the teacher is so important. Like, is it a good teacher? What type of music, right? So I asked her, I'm like, the music's good? She's like, yes. Teacher's good? Yes. And I told Audrey, I'm like, hey, would you like to dance? And she's like, dance? We're at the gym. I'm like, would you like to learn how to do to do Zumba? Would you like to?
That sounds like it would be perfect for her.
Yes. And I love the crap out of it when I used to do it. Remember in the old house? Yeah. And so her and I, we, Zumba, we did it. And it was so fun. His name was Kevin, dude. And he was really good. And this gal who came in, she was amazing. You guys used to like
Zumba at the park and shit.
Yes. Yeah. And this girl was absolutely amazing. And it was so cool just to be there with Audrey and watching her learn the moves. But she was enjoying it. And then there was a song, I don't remember what song it was, but the teacher was showing everyone how to drop it. And I'm ooh, I remember this. I'm like, bam, bam, bam. You know?
Started dropping it low. Drop it low, girl. Drop it low, girl.
And I look at Audrey and she's like,
Not happening.
I'm not doing that.
Not happening.
I'm not doing that. And I'm like, baby, I'm like, it's okay. We're dancing. We're having fun. I'm like, it's okay. She's like, I'm still not doing that.
Yeah. Yeah, no.
I'm like, here, let me show you.
She's loosening up a little bit, but not that much.
Yes. Wow. So when her little friend was staying the night, her little friend was like, because we just dance whenever there's music on and we're feeling it. Audrey and I just start dancing.
Well, for the party, we had all the chairs and everything cleared out. So like the living room downstairs was like open floor.
Right.
So you guys were tearing it up down here.
So we start dancing and her little friend is like, I don't know how to move my hips. And I'm like, let me show you.
Jumps in.
I know. I'm like, let me show you. I'm like, I don't know. Your mama's going to allow you to stay the night with me anymore, but let me show you.
Yep.
And we started doing it. And all of a sudden, I see Audrey going down, down, down. I'm like, hey. I'm like, I thought you didn't know how to. I thought you didn't know how to drop it low.
Yeah, and then you got both of them looking in the window, looking at each other, freaking shaking their. And I'm like, what the? Oh.
Yeah, but Audrey's like, yeah. She's like, but I'm not going to do this around people. I'm like, that's a good thing. Because it was just the three of us in there.
Yeah,
you know, and she felt comfortable doing it. So I'm like, that's good. That's not a bad thing. I'm good with that.
That's fun.
But it was just fun. It was just having that bonding moment with her at Zumba, and she loves it, and she's looking forward to doing it again.
Yeah, that'll be cool.
So yeah. And I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was a whole lot of fun.
Yep. So you got billionaires going into space here soon. When is that happening? I think it's happening in the next couple days. You got Jeff Bezos. Like he stepped down as the CEO of Amazon.
Really?
Yeah. He stepped down and they're getting ready to go up into space. I guess one of the, what is it? Richard Branson. He's like the owner of Virgin Galactic and like some other like Virgin Mobile. I think the Virgin Airlines. Like he owns all that stuff. And he just did like a flight in space like recently. It's different than I think Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk and what they're shooting rockets up into space. He was like flying in the atmosphere or something like that. But
imagine having that much money where you can just make a decision.
I haven't looked into it that much, but apparently it is horrible for the planet. Like what they're doing is horrible for the planet.
Really?
Yeah, it's not good. And
why are they even being allowed then? It's like, and nobody's even talking about that. You don't hear them talking about what's actually happening, regarding our planet.
Yeah.
The water.
Yeah.
Like you don't hear none of that on the news. Like how did you become aware of that?
So yeah, that's the thing. Like I have I don't know if it was through my news, the Google News, Google Now, or the Assistant app. Like it pulls up cards or whatever, like things that you might be interested in. And sometimes, I get a lot of like science stuff. I get a lot of environment stuff. And there was something that came up that it was about the drought that's happening in the Colorado, Lake Mead, the Hoover Dam, like all of that. And like you don't hear about it. I don't know if they're talking about it on the news. We don't watch the news. And maybe that's what it is. Maybe they do talk about it on the news.
I'm gonna have to ask my mom. No.
But dude, like, you would think that if it was something important, they would have. I guess not, because if you're watching Facebook or social media, like if that's where you get your news from, what incentive do they have to tell you about a drought? Right. They don't make money off of that. Right. So YouTube's not going to tell you about it. Unless you happen to look at something on the news and that's what you're into and it's suggested to you. But as far as like an ad or like, hey, this is something you need to look out for, they're not going to push it. Right. Because they don't make money. Like
what you mentioned, like when there's something that's happening, a problem or a challenge happening in the world, instead of notifying us so that we, because it all starts with us, right? It's all about, like I was sharing with Joey. We were in the backyard. I'm like, hey, you do not leave the hose running. Yeah. But I didn't take it a step further to share with him why. When you brush your teeth, you don't leave the water running. But it's like you don't give them the reason why.
Yeah, it doesn't mean anything if you don't tell them why.
Like the other day you mentioned, it's like, why is it that when something's happening, instead of informing us, they take away from us?
Yeah. It's like whenever something happens, instead of letting us know beforehand that something's going down, right? Afterwards, they take something away from us. So like the water, like they have these droughts in California all the time. And I think they do tell you like you're not supposed to like to try not to water. But what they'll do is they'll just tell you like you cannot water from this time to this time. You're just not allowed. Like 9/11 happened. Instead of warning us about things that are happening, you lose a bunch of rights. The whole coronavirus, instead of warning us about things that are happening, things that they're working on, now we're losing a bunch of other stuff. Right. That just seems like a cycle that we go through.
Yeah. Yeah. Who knows? But it all starts with us, right? Like it all starts with us. Just being able to do, the right thing, taking care of our planet, making sure we're not being wasteful.
And talking to the kids about it. Because I did. Yes. I showed it to Joey. Yes. And I showed it to Audrey. I'm like, look, this is, and you can see it on the side of the mountain. Like you can see the different color where the water was and where it is now. And, and he's asking now. Which is good. Yes. Like he's been asking.
Yes. And that's why good. I say, we can't save the planet. You and I can't save the planet. No. But together, we can save the planet. It sounds
like the old 80s cartoon, the Captain Planet. Wind, water, earth. What's the other one? Fire.
It all starts here, though. It all starts with...
And with our powers combined.
Educating ourselves and educating our children.
Yeah.
And getting them to recognize... what wasteful, what it does, not recycling. Right?
No,
seeing paper down. Our kids, they know, like littering. They'll go out there, pick up paper. They will not litter. So it all starts with us. So how do we save our planet?
Yeah, by us teaching our kids and doing the best we can and being an example for them.
That's it.
Yep.
And that is
and the thing
the
is,
rainbow in the storm.
And the thing is that little by little, it doesn't have to be all at once. It's just starting something, like throwing away batteries. Just make the decision that you're not throwing batteries just in the garbage anymore.
Right.
Put them on the counter and figure out what you're going to do with them.
Right.
Before, maybe we used to throw them away. At least that little bit might do something. But who knows? Who the hell knows? Because these corporations are fucking shit up real fast. You know what I mean? Actually, that reminds me of something that if you guys have never heard of the term greenwashing, man, it is like where corporations are telling you that they're doing something and doing the exact opposite of it. Like there was that thing that Microsoft was talking about, how by 2030 they're gonna undo all the damage that they've done since the start of their company or something like that. Like they're gonna be carbon neutral since their inception. They're gonna like make it all up. But then at the same time, they signed a deal with like Chevron and like another giant oil company to help them pull more resources out of the earth faster or something. Like they're helping them produce like AI technology so that they can like take more faster out of the earth and destroy it quicker. It's just like they tell you one thing and they do something else, Yeah. And they're all like, Amazon's doing it too. They tell you all these things. I just heard about an app that tracks you everywhere you like. It knows.
Been getting tracked.
No, babe. I'm talking about the employees.
Oh.
The employees. Like when you're working, it's telling them like where you are. Like if you're picking your orders fast enough, if you're delivering on schedule. Like you get in trouble if you get stuck in traffic. Stuff like that.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know the extent of it because I don't work at Amazon, but I've heard it's not good.
Yeah. So the other day, Adriana was filling up the dishwasher.
Yeah.
And she asked me for help.
Yeah.
And I said, baby,
go talk to your dad.
This is not. I'm like, you may want to ask your daddy because I suck at this. And the reason for it, though, do you remember when we started dating and even living in the other house? Like I had a dishwasher, but I never used it because I always felt that I washed the dishes. I would wash the dishes better than the dishwasher.
Yeah.
And I never used it. I just used it as a drying rack. So I would always wash the dishes by hand. So I never really used the dishwasher.
Yeah.
So the expert would be your dad. So you may want to ask your dad. And I was having a conversation with one of Joey's really good friend, the mom, and we were talking, and it's funny because she brought up how she hates like when her husband loads the dishwasher because he doesn't know what the hell he's doing, and she's like, I got it down. She's like, I there's a way to do it. Like there's a way to do it.
Yeah.
Or shit gets clean. And I'm like, I just don't know. It just does. It just has not clicked for me. And she's like, there's always that one in a relationship that knows how to, fill up the dishwasher. And I'm like, well, I am definitely
You're not the one.
Not that one.
That's funny.
But there's always the one person in the relationship who knows how to do certain things, and the dishwasher is one of them.
Yeah.
And so is loading the washer machine. And I don't think you are that person. Yep. Are you that person?
Loading the washing machine?
Not the washer. Yeah, the washer. Yeah. Sorry.
I can do that. I don't know why you have something against me.
The heavy things go on the bottom.
Yeah, you have something against me with the washer.
Because you
feel
just
like
throw
I just
shit
don't
in.
know. But
that's
I do.
why.
But I know this is exactly why you guys come to this podcast for the fucking hot dishwasher or washing machine talk that we have on here.
You taught me how to make a bed correctly.
Right.
That's another thing. Like there is a way to make a bed.
Well, I think that some of it came from the military, but the dishwasher, I don't know if like my thought when I go to put stuff in there, like I look at it like it's a machine and I'm like, how does this machine work? And I'm looking at like the sprayer on the bottom.
Oh, hell no. I ain't
sprayer
doing
in
all
the middle.
that.
And I'm like, okay,
Negative.
So like, I'm just looking at it like if I face these dishes towards the wall, that's not going to do shit. So I'm just like, all right, put everything in a way so that it can get sprayed by the water. That's all I'm thinking.
So there is a different way that we are all wired.
Yeah.
Seriously, like I don't think the way you think. And
yeah, I got the psycho serial murder or whatever.
Yeah, but you know what I noticed with you?
What?
The older you get, the worse it gets. Oh my God. Yes.
Wait till I get older.
Like
I'm going to be like that lady on the fucking show.
You were
where
not
she eats the
this way.
hamburger. That's going to be me.
Ugh, dude, I'm going to kick you in the head.
There's this show Startup. If you guys have seen it, it's on Netflix. It's really good.
Yeah.
But there's this, like, she's like an NSA agent and she's like super anal, like just ridiculous. Like she's opening the hamburger and she like flattens out the paper.
Yes.
And she puts her
it has
drink
to be
in
a certain way.
And the reason that she goes there is because she gets the same exact thing every single time, and they make it the same exact way.
Boring.
And she's like, that's gonna be me when I get older, right?
You're gonna drive me nuts. Were you the kid? Okay, growing, I need you to really be to think back. You have a great memory, so you might be able to remember this. But when you were little, when you started growing up or going to school, whether it was like first grade, second grade, third grade, were you a quiet kid? Because it seems to me like you would have been the quiet kid.
I was.
Freaking funny as shit. I was the loud kid. I was the
shy.
one. Yeah. See, and I could totally see that. That is so funny.
I was always shy until I got to know people. Once I got to know people, then, it was whatever.
Yeah, yeah. But I can see you being shy.
It took me a while to get to know people.
Yes. So I can see that. And
I still do that. This still happens.
I was the loud one.
There'll be people that, like, at work, yes. I mean, it'll be months before I fucking talk to someone. It's like, there he goes again. Don't say shit.
But Miguel's the quiet one, but he knows everybody's business. He knows exactly what's going on. He knows what time you go to the coffee pot. He knows what time you go to the bathroom every day because he
going to take a shit
again.
You would
pay attention to all those little details that I find boring as shit.
Eyes over the cubicle and just like watching everybody.
But
I don't give a shit.
So I was talking to Audrey and she's like, yes, she's like, I'm the one that's always talking in class, and her and her friend were talking back and forth, and I'm sitting there and I'm like, oh my goodness, this is my little mini me. And I shared with them a story that when I was in second grade, and it's so funny because I don't remember much, but I remember
You remember this, yeah.
I remember, being in second grade, we're in a circle, reading time, and I'm talking to this little boy, and Miss Dichter, who is my teacher, she was
sounds like a
pretty tall, large woman,
yeah,
with big ankle. Like I just remember everything. I even remember the shoes she wore, her haircut. She was all gray.
Middleweight. She's a middleweight,
and she got me out of that circle and took me to the principal's office. And I got a swat from the principal with this wooden paddle. And I remember him telling me to bend over. And he gave me a freaking, I got a swat.
I think you might have been like the last, because I never got hit by a teacher.
No? Well, that wasn't a teacher. That was the principal. She walked me to the office.
I didn't get hit by a principal either.
Yeah.
But I've seen, I've grew up, no. I've seen fights, but it wasn't like that.
That's different, babe.
No, that's different.
This is like the school. Different. And you should have seen Adriana's face.
Yeah.
It dropped. Like, your principal spanked you?
That sounds crazy, huh?
Yeah, it does sound crazy. And then I started to think, like, what happened to that? We're going to look that up because there was a lawsuit.
You know what? Would you be cool with it?
Hell no. No one is going to be swatting or spanking my kids. No. Hell no.
I will swat them and spank them myself.
Right. Call me.
If anybody's whooping their ass, it's going to be me.
But dude, I wonder what happened with that. I need to look that up to see what happened. But I can tell you one parent got pissed and there was a lawsuit that changed everything. Shit. Because whenever there's a lawsuit, that's why we deal with so much today. Like we live in such a litigious society because somebody out there decided that they were going to fight back.
It's a good thing they don't do that anymore. Because nowadays, I know a couple kids. The wrong teacher hits these kids, and they'll be in trouble. All of a sudden, you get arm drag, and you be waking up in the corner somewhere. You're like, what the hell happened?
What happened? But isn't that nuts?
That is crazy, huh?
and just the things that we used to do back in the day.
Yeah.
Like the drills that we used to have back in the day.
Yeah.
That they no longer do, and why. And
stop, drop, and roll, all that.
Yeah. Well, now it's like if a shooter comes in, get under your desk. I mean, it's way different than stop, drop, and roll.
Yeah.
And Audrey's like, what do you mean stop, drop, and roll? What were you guys doing? Dancing? I'm like, no, girl, that's if we caught on fire.
Yeah. That was for when we caught on fire. You got to do that.
Right?
Yeah. It was weird.
Man. And then yesterday, so this is just some things that happened that it makes me feel old. It makes me feel grown, right? But yesterday.
It makes me feel grown. You say that instead.
Grown.
It makes me feel grown. But like an OG.
Right? So Miguel and I, we went and we hung out with some friends from church.
Damn, I just figured that out. That just means we're old as fuck. OG.
No,
if somebody says you're an OG, be like, oh man. I know what that means.
But it's funny because you don't feel it. You look in the mirror, like you don't feel like you're old. We're not old, man. No. We're middle age.
We're OGs.
Middle. We're
That's
in the
what
middle,
I'm saying.
Man.
We're OGs.
But so Miguel and I are we're laying up, watching our startup show that we've been watching.
On Netflix.
And I'm sitting there and I look forward and I look at him and I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, is today Saturday?
Saturday night.
Today is Saturday? What time is it? And he tells me the time and I'm like,
oh, it was like 10:30, 10:45.
And I look at him and I'm like, hey, on your younger party days, what were you doing about now?
Yeah.
And he's like, on my way or either getting ready to go to a club to have some fun, right?
Like, yeah, we were getting ready to go somewhere or we were on our way somewhere or getting somewhere.
And now think about a time where you had like your best night, like something that you remember, and all the things that you did that night and the time you were home and the people you were with. And I said, and look at us today. We went out with some church friends.
Netflix, hanging out.
We had some, we had some
We watched
fun.
a basketball game with the church friends.
Right? Yep. And now
watching
we're
Netflix.
At home, hugging up, cuddled up, and it felt good. Like, I didn't take it like, oh my God.
Dude,
it's just the transformation and the transformation of who we were back then and who we are today. And it felt good. It wasn't a sad story. It was a good, this is what life is about. Like, I found the person that I love, and we spent some time together, having fun with friends. And now we're spending quality time together. And I'm like, this is what life is about.
That's what I want to do more than anything. Is just hang out with you, hang out with the kids.
Yes.
That's it. Like, I thought about, like, when you asked me that shit, I'm like thinking about like what we used to do back then.
Oh my God.
And then I'm like, ugh, that sounds exhausting.
And I'm like, what?
I don't even want to be up that late anymore.
And when he said
I don't want to drink that much.
Oh, when he said that, I'm like, what? I'm getting excited. What do you mean? I was like
that's because we're OGs.
I was on a table dancing, not like a strip club table, but like, I was at a club. You know how they had the center boxes, moon doggies? I just outdated myself.
That shit don't even exist anymore, probably.
They closed it down.
So no, we were talking about, and then I'm like, hey, if we were to go out like right now, where would we go?
And we look at each other
and I'm like, I only know the places. I only don't know the names of places that have been shut down like years ago.
Right?
Like years ago. Those places don't even exist anymore. I wouldn't even know where the hell to go.
I don't know. Yeah, for reals. But
that shit's a parking lot now.
But I do miss dancing. I miss dancing because I love dancing.
Our anniversary's coming up.
I know.
Let's do something.
But I also want to go to Sedona and do all of that. So I don't know. Maybe we could find something. I don't know. But you know what was so crazy? Because I've been in that mood where I want to go dancing. Like, I want to go.
Because of all that damn twerking in the Zumba classes.
My joints are starting to get stiff. No,
you got oil them up a little bit. From lack of
dancing.
Stretch
but anyways, dude, when we went to Zumba, I was on point. I was like, boom, boom. Like, I was dropping. If you guys aren't watching this, you got to watch so I can see my moves. No.
Yeah.
But I was having a blast because I'm like, man, I've been wanting to go to out dancing, and here's my opportunity. I'm like, let's do this, Audrey.
That's fun. That's cool. That's awesome.
Yeah. But no, I was just thinking, the things that I got into back then and just where we are today. Like, I'm just so grateful that I lived. Like, I lived.
Yeah. Like, I wouldn't trade those because it was fun.
Yes.
It was exhausting.
At that time, though, right?
I'm good where I'm at now. But yeah.
Right. Right.
It's cool to look back at that.
Right.
Like, kind of sometimes.
Like you did what?
Yeah, kind of sometimes. Oh my God. But anyway, if you guys are enjoying this podcast, make sure you guys go to oppositesattractpodcast.com. Share it with those that you know. You guys can support the show there. You'll see all of our social media, our YouTube. You can listen to it there. And you'll also see a tab that says support the show. If you're on the computer, you'll see it at the top. Or if you hit the menu button on the phone, you'll see the support the show tab. That'll take you to our Amazon link. And anything that you purchase through that link doesn't cost you anything extra, but it helps out the show. And you can also search our merch on Amazon by searching Opposites Attract Podcast. You'll find our phone cases, pop sockets, t-shirts, all that kind of stuff. Yes. And when you go to the support the show link, you'll also see a link to Trust Inc. And Trust Inc. is?
We are a nationwide mobile notary agency. And signing agency. If you are in the process of purchasing, selling, or refinancing, you can request Trust Inc. to be your signing agency.
And you can go to trustinkusa.com to reach us directly. We're also affiliates with Libsyn, which is who hosts our podcast, and they distribute it to Amazon, to iTunes, Spotify, all the different places. If you want to start a podcast, use promo code OAP for Opposites Attract Podcast, and you'll get the rest of whatever month you sign up in for free, and you'll get the next month for free just for trying out Libsyn, promo code OAP, and our newest affiliate, Pinwheel. If you guys are interested in getting a Pinwheel phone for your kids, like we talked about on our last podcast, I haven't seen a better option for a kid's phone. And
safer.
And
better,
you know what?
Safer.
Not to do like another 1 hour ad for Pinwheel, but the truth is, like, the way phone companies work now, like with ours, with T-Mobile, I didn't really have to think about it too much because what's the worst that could happen? The phone is $150. So I buy the phone. The contracts are month to month now. If it doesn't work,
which is great,
it doesn't work.
Right.
And I lost $150, but I'll give it a shot. And it turns out we love it. It worked great. Yes. So if you guys want to get 10% off of your Pinwheel phone, use promo code OAP10, all in caps, and you have to spell it out. That's OAPTEN.
Yes.
10% off with Pinwheel.
What I love, I know, it's like I'm pretty passionate about,
right?
Pinwheel, just because
we're not sellouts. We swear.
No, it's because it gives you peace of mind. Like what you're buying is peace of mind.
Yeah.
And when you have a child that's growing up in this age, it's something that you have to be concerned with because of all the predators and just everything that's happening. So if, you have that concern, listen to our last episode, you'll get tons of information and do your research, and if you decide, then.
No, I'm really glad that he was on the podcast because he really did drop. There was just so many, there was a few moments in there that we were talking and I was just like, that is something that I need to make sure I write down when I go back and listen to this again.
Yes.
There was a handful of moments that I was just like, damn, like that's one that I need to remember.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Good stuff. So I don't think we've ever shared our mission with our listeners, and so that's something that I want, to do. And if there's anything that you want to add to it, that'd be awesome. But when people ask what is Opposites Attract what does your podcast stand for? What is your mission? Like why do you guys do what you do?
Yeah.
And so what we do, not just to read this word for word, but we here at Opposites Attract Podcast, we share our highest of highs and lowest of lows in the hopes that even if it's just one person, by us sharing our challenges and obstacles in our lives, because I don't know if you guys realize this, but it looks easy, right? When you're watching us, it looks easy. It's not. To be able to open our doors, because that's what we're doing. We're opening our doors and we're sharing all our intimate moments. Yeah. Our challenges, like we're letting you into our lives, and that is challenging at times, but we hope in our hopes that of you guys watching and listening, that you take something from us that's going to continue to help you guys to push, to strive, to not give up.
Yeah. And not just that, but I feel like we're all in it together.
Yes.
We're not far, wherever you're at, we're not far from where you're at. And there's people that listen that are farther ahead than we are. Like we're not different than anybody else. We just put it out there for everybody to see. We were talking to somebody yesterday. We were, like we mentioned, we were at a friend's house from the church, and we were watching the Suns basketball game. And they were asking me about the podcast, and like, don't you get nervous or something? And yeah, of course, sometimes when there's certain things that we're going to talk about, you do get nervous, putting it out there.
Right.
But the thing is that at a certain point, when you look back, it's like, really? Like, you're going to be nervous about that? Like, there's not much to be nervous about because of everything that we've talked about over 130 something episodes.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So at a certain point, you do get more comfortable with it, but it's still...
It's still challenging. I mean, we get up, there's times where, we may be going through something and we have to check ourselves.
Yeah.
And you guys always hear about, by the way, what we're going through. But, for the most part, it's like, okay, we have to be strong enough to get our mindset where it needs to be in order to bring it to you guys. You know what I'm saying? Because there's times where I'm off and I'm not feeling it, or because of something that I'm going through, but I'm not going to come and welcome to Opposites Attract podcast. Like, so it's like your energy has to be up and at it, and you have to be centered and, in tune and go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, like, we've had a few people, like recently we had Isaiah, we've had Big Super, he's had some success on YouTube. We've had Sandy Semino that works in, with children's behavioral specialists. And we've had different people that have had, like, they have experience in certain things. Like you could even call them experts. We've had Bill on.
Yes.
He knows the notary business. There's certain things that he is an expert at, right? And we talk about, like we were talking about the other day when we were upstairs in our bedroom. It's like, we are giving you our professional advice, even though it's unlicensed. Like we're figuring this out as we go.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But we are not like the experts in everything. Like we're learning as we go. And you guys may hear something. And if you do, you guys can give us a call, 480-912-5128, and be like, hey, you guys are way off. Or have you ever thought about it this way?
Right.
And then we'll be like, oh shit, I never have thought about it that way. But that's just the whole point, is for all of us to grow and get better together.
Yes.
Like we say at the end of the show.
Yeah.
But have you ever had a feeling, like looking at your notes or after an episode or something, like after we got done talking about something, have you ever just like thought about it and been like, are you sure you know what the fuck you're talking about? Have you ever had that feeling?
The feeling I have when I look at my thoughts is, damn girl, you're a fucking mess. No. No, but
do you know what I mean? Because sometimes we're talking about certain things and like I'll be talking and then I'm like, you sure, dude?
Yeah. See, but
you know what I mean?
And the thing of it is that, like, our friend from last night when we were watching the game with him, he's like, I love the fact that, that Miguel, you could tell like Miguel is the one who does like all the research and, gets it all down. And then you come in with your feelings and that's it. Like, it's like, certain things like I know, that maybe I should research, but
Okay. So the answer is no.
Both.
You just go for it. The answer is no. Sonia goes for it.
I just do it. I do it. If it feels good, then I do it.
Yeah, must be right. That's it. Well, I can tell you guys that there's times that I'm like, dude, maybe you should look it up some more.
No, you're right. I mean? I have. No, you're right. No, when I'm talking about something, I kick myself in the ass. Like, you should have taken some time to look it up so that you could have given them more than what you gave them.
I think that's healthy. That's a healthy thing, is to even question the things that you think.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I think we've said that before too. It's like, all we're doing is we're sharing our lives with you all, and we're sharing how we've been able to overcome some things. Not saying that it's right for everybody, but it was right for us. And if it sounds like, it might be right for you, then give it a shot. And if it doesn't work and you try something else out and that works, we would love to hear from you, so that we can share that with our listeners. And I think that's why, we bring the best of the best experts to our podcast, because we know that we don't know, right? Yeah. Like, we know that we don't know.
We understand that we don't understand.
And we also know that it's very important to provide valuable information and insight to you guys.
Yeah.
And so, yeah.
Yeah. That's exactly what it's about.
Yeah.
I think that's
great. And so even if we help one individual, we have accomplished our mission.
Yeah. That's great. No, I think that's perfect. It's just, we're showing you guys where we're headed. We're trying to get better, and we're bringing you guys along for the ride. And one thing that we had talked about, like when it comes to getting better and doing something, or really like a side hustle type business thing, a lot of times people like don't understand the difference between a side business that you're passionate about, that you really want to do something with, and a hobby. Like a hobby is fine, and if you want to make a little bit of money, that's great. But if you have a business, that's different, you know. Or
right.
if you
want to become that expert at what it is that you're doing, if it's something you're going to be doing forever.
And that's the thing is, like, I think there's a certain point where I'm sure there was. Like, I have a regular 9-to-5 job, right? And I have this side hustle that is Opposites Attract podcast, right? That we do. And there was a certain, like, after our first episode came out and somebody asked me, what do you do for a living? What would my answer have been? It probably would have still been that I worked in aviation.
Yes. Yes.
Right?
Yes.
But because I still didn't know much. I didn't know enough. But you have to get to a point that when somebody asks you, if somebody asked me today, like, what do you do?
What would you say?
I'm a podcaster. Because I know. And like, I'm a professional podcaster. You know, and you have to treat it that way if you want to have that type of success.
More than just a hobby.
More than just a hobby.
Yes.
Because I think a lot of times people is like, oh, well, you know, I'm passionate about it. I have fun doing it and I want to do it. And there's a difference.
Right.
Because like I had told you, there's people that they love aviation. And it's like that is their hobby, is photography, or they know so much. They probably know more than me about that stuff, about certain things.
Right.
The thing is that there's what I do, and I've done it for long enough that I get paid for it. Like, I'm a professional, you know, whatever you want to call it in aviation. Like, when you're getting paid, it's because you're a professional, whatever.
Right.
You're making money doing that skill. Right. And you have to get to that point with the skills that are required for your hobby or whatever that is, so that you can have success doing that. And if you're not doing it that way, then it's going to be tough. It's not, you can't expect that type of success if you're not dedicated that way. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Faux show. We've had some hobbies.
We've had a bunch of different
and
hobbies.
we did good with the hobbies, but it was like you know, you're excited when you first, you know, when you start, and it's supposed to be fun. Like, most of the time a hobby is something that you enjoy, but that you don't see.
You know what? Maybe it's my personality. Maybe I'm an entrepreneur or something like that. Because whenever we start something, like, I don't give a fuck. I'm trying to make a sweatshop. Like, you know, like I made the sweatshop in the like Sonja's like, I think we're gonna make baby hats. I was like, I think we could sell baby hats. Let's get the line going. You know, how can we order these in bulk? You know, I'm like, I'm gonna start.
That is true. You turn.
Sonja wants to make our kid.
Fault.
Sonja wants to make our kid one baby hats. All of a sudden, I got a sweatshop at the house, and we're selling tutus and shit.
Dude, you turned my happy hobby into some shit that I didn't want to do anymore. I did not realize that until now that it was your fault.
You want to go back?
Dude,
are you sure? No, it wasn't.
It was your fault.
You don't even remember anymore.
I had so much fun.
That was like 10 years ago.
I would make tutu dresses, you know, and little tutu skirts and headpieces, and it was so much fun. And it was for my daughter. And then some friends would come and they're like, "Oh my God, I love that. Can you make one for mine?" And I'm like, "Sure." And I would do it for fun. And all of a sudden, here comes Miguel.
What Sonja didn't know is that I was running numbers in the background, doing spreadsheets and shit. I'm like, all right, so the cost is gonna be this much. The profit's gonna be this. That's how much we're gonna sell them for. We can make this much money. If we sell these many, we can make $100,000.
That was all you. Because after a while, we were doing well. Like, I was even going to boutiques and doing what I do, right? Like networking, trying to get them in the boutique. And after a while,
it's fucking funny how we did that shit, huh?
Yeah, because I mean, our shit was great quality. I'll put some pictures up on Facebook if you guys aren't part of our Facebook group, Opposites Attract Facebook group.
This is our personalities, like, perfectly. It was Little Angels Children's Accessories.
Yes.
It's still on Facebook. Like, it's so old. You guys can probably find it. But you can see the pictures of our daughter when she was a little baby wearing the tutus. But
she was my little model.
The way it started, you wanted to make them for Audrey. I don't know if you had seen something on YouTube or whatever, and you started making a couple. And you know, like anything, it's the first couple, and they come out a little weird looking or whatever, they're a little lopsided,
they're not perfect.
They're not even, and then I don't know what happened. I don't know if it was me or whatever, but at a certain point, we decided we were going to start.
I had the idea. Okay,
to make
I had the idea to do all that, and then Miguel comes in to perfect the tutu.
Well, what it was is I think you were watching like one of those housewife shows, and one of them had a baby. Because I remember you telling me like one of them had a baby. Because that's what made me think. And I'm like, on the housewife shows, they had it. Maybe we could sell them. You know, shit like that. People love babies.
Right.
You know, so we bought the domain, did all that. But it is just like our personalities, because you went to the stores, to the boutiques, you put the shit in the stores. I had the spreadsheet, like the profit, the law, you know, all of that stuff. And then when it came to making the stuff, like I went and found the suppliers for the crystals, the hats, the tool,
he did the research
the
for
ribbon.
all that.
I like where I could get it the cheapest from all the different places. I made the logo, made the business cards, you know, and then we started selling all together.
Yeah. And we did pretty good. I mean, I remember the first Friday, we were selling tutus for $75 a pop, $75 a pop, and they were going like hotcakes.
Yeah.
Like they were just gone.
The only thing is that they were labor intensive.
Yes.
They took quite a bit. It wasn't something that you could really, I mean, unless you pay somebody nothing, which is what the sweatshop was about. I never got to that point. I was always thinking about shipping it overseas and, you know, getting containers full of tutus. But
that is so funny.
That's crazy.
When you think about, because we're going on how many years, babe?
13 years. What's today?
Years. Babe, shut up.
Our anniversary is in 3 days.
You better do something. No.
You see how that works? You see how that works? Dang.
I'm like, you better do something. No, that's crazy. Well, that's our original
Finally.
date anniversary, because him and I, and that's on for another podcast.
Maybe the next one.
Yes, let's not get into that, because until next time. No.
Thank you guys for listening to Opposites Attract Podcast. Make sure you guys go to oppositesattractpodcast.com. Share it with the people that you know. If you want to start a podcast, you can use promo code OAP with Libsyn. If you're going to get your kids a phone and you want the best smartphone available for kids, you can go to pinwheel.com and use promo code OAP10, all in caps, and spell it out, OAPTEN. Make sure you guys go to Trust Inc. That's TrustINKUSA.com.
Yes. Thank you all for your love and your support and listening to Opposites Attract Podcast,
where we get better
together. Bye.